You had one job and you can't even do that right. Get some wood on the fire before it goes out. What's wrong with this picture? I'll give you a hint. It's missing something warm and bright.
Hey, how are you? Do I have to go back? Oh, hang on, my mic's... hang on.
One job and you can't even do that right. Get some wood on the fire before it goes out.
Hello, how are we all doing? I hope we're all having a good start to the week. Bladed, good to see you. Max, welcome on in. I think I saw Carly as well. I hope you all have a good start to the week. We're going to ignore the fact that my mic was unmuted when I first started this. Totally didn't say anything I shouldn't. Today we've got Will with us.
Hello, that's my cue. I'm
It
here as
is.
well.
Yeah, so today we're gonna be looking at the Game Jam game that I made not last weekend before last. Oh, I'm getting old. Just kind of looking at like the technical aspects, how I did stuff like that. Will wasn't there for that jam, so he's got like more questions he can ask. And then later on, I have another project that we'll look at a little bit as well, because I don't know how long we'll spend on this one. If you guys have any questions in chat, feel free to ask us, and we will try and answer them. If you all take a look at some of the Game Jam games we've done in the past, here's a link to my profile. It's got this game and so the other ones that I've done solo, but most of the games on there are actually games that have been done as a team with myself, Will, and plus, I'm being booped. Quit booping me. And occasionally Tim joined us for a few jams as well. We've been doing them for a fair number of years now, haven't we?
Why? Yeah, I don't know at what point it becomes too many, but
I mean, I
who
can
knows?
tell you what point it became too many. I think I might have told you this, you little shits. I might have told you this during the jam, but I threatened to throw all the first years out the window. Did I tell you about
that
this?
might have slipped by. No, I don't know.
Okay. Well, you'll very much agree with it when I tell you why I threatened to throw him out the window.
Was it drinking too many monsters?
No. Although there was a group that did get warned by the committee, as always,
There's
about
always
being
one.
yeah.
At least one.
No. We can't remember which of the ones it was, but what the committee had said, point out, I've been doing it for a while because we have. And one of the first years asked, and I said, 2017 Global was our first global game jam.
Oh
And this
no.
particular first year turned around and said, I was still in primary school then.
Ah, Jesus Christ! You didn't have to. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah, so just immediately felt old.
That's awful.
For the folks who aren't familiar with the UK education system, year 6 is like for 10 and 11-year-olds. This guy was like not even a teenager when me and Will first started doing like game jams, and he is now at university. So yeah, that's when you know you've been doing it too long.
It's pretty despicable, that. I gotta say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somehow I got the feeling you might agree with my sentiment once I told you that.
I feel old enough to this. Yeah, he needs to go out the window. Get rid.
Get lost. It was like,
he
why
doing?
why the
Why
fuck
would he
did you
say
feel
that?
to tell me that?
Yeah, he went out of his way. He thought about it, and he was like, "Should I tell him? Yeah, I'll tell him."
Yeah, I'll
And
tell
then,
him that.
yeah, I'll ruin his day. Yeah.
Okay. So, the theme for this jam was mirrors. And the modifiers, I can't remember all the modifiers, were AI, which I wasn't a fan of.
No.
Mainly because of the way people interpreting it.
Just to clarify, was this AI as in
just AI?
You know, AI enemies,
yeah.
or just? Oh, it didn't clarify.
Yeah, they didn't clarify. So if I was to use the AI, which I think I did using this state stuff for the workers, which we'll get into a little bit. But there were one team who we're not going to talk about further after this, who did use AI to make like music and stuff like that. Which
Right, yeah.
I personally was not a fan of. But we won't go deep into that. At the end of the day, it wasn't my game. Everyone else had fun, and that's the main thing to go with. So, yeah, the modifiers were AI, sunlight, and there were two others that I don't remember. For those who aren't familiar with what a game jam is, A game jam is where you get a theme and some modifiers right at the start of the jam, and you have to try and make a game from scratch in that time. So this particular jam was 48 hours. So I worked by myself to make a game in 48 hours. Now, Will might be able to attest to this a little bit, but Will normally listens to the theme a little bit more. When you've been doing this for a while, like we have, you don't always need the theme to come up with ideas. So I went into this jam with pretty much every intention of ignoring the theme and just shoehorning it in if I could. Because I already had an idea of something that I wanted to run with. Just to play around with. None of us could see that game on live stream. Yeah, I remembered why that was. They were showcasing it from a laptop. They didn't put it on the... Everyone else puts it all on one PC so that they can showcase it. For some reason, these guys showed it from a laptop. I don't know why. But like I said, we'll move on from that one. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to do something that was a little more RTS, but I wanted to play around with state machines for the workers. An idea I've been having for a while where instead of you micromanaging your workforce, and originally there was going to be battle units, but I ran out of time. You had more of a dashboard was my idea and assigned tasks, and workers would figure out what to do from there. So you've not seen it yet, have you, Will?
I haven't seen. So to clarify for the chat, I wasn't there for this one, and I haven't seen anything really to do with it. You showed me a couple of snippets while you were working on it, but for the most part, I was quite excited to play it. And then when you mentioned doing this, I thought, oh yeah, you know what, good chance to have a look, get a look behind the mind, ask a few questions. But yeah, as a result, I've not seen any of this. I don't really know what I mean, I know what the theme is. I don't really know what the context of what you've made is. I'm excited to figure out. I'm excited to learn.
Okay, well, I'll just hit the play button and then we can talk a little bit about it. Like I said, I had this idea. I figured if I had space, I would attach the theme into it, but I was more interested in playing around with this idea I had than actually trying to be competitive, because you can win like prizes at jams and that, but I wasn't really interested in that this time. I more wanted to play with this. So this is effectively, if you were to boot the game up, this is what you'd see. I'm running it in the editor, so this is for effectively like your debug version, the way developers will see their applications. If you download the game, you'll just see the game itself. So what we have is our PodCap. We have 4 different resource types. Then we have our menus that we can work with. Ignore this menu. I didn't get that far. But here we have our workers menu, so we can see how many workers we have, how many are idle, and then different tasks that our workers could have. Then we've got our building menu, which is what we can use for building buildings. What we've got here are 3 workers. So everything's low poly. This is because I didn't want to spend time trying to make models or like texturing things or anything like that. I was just trying to like focus more on the development and see what I could learn from that. Funnily enough, it was I was basing it off a little bit of Age of Empires Bladed. I did want to try and go down my own path a little bit more, but as time was running out, I ended up just taking more and more from Age of Empires as a base. So with these 3, say I want them to start doing tasks, I could get one to start collecting berries, so hit 1. Start to get berries, hit another plus, another one will start collecting wood. If I want a building, because this is a bit of distance for our worker to go from a tree to the village hall, I can build a storage pit here, then get that worker to go and build the storage pit, and we can select it and see how much progress has been made. So when this storage pit is built, it can receive 3 resource types: food, wood, and stone. And this, whatever workers are collecting wood and that, will find the nearest resource building they can drop that resource off at, and they will make a path towards that, shortening the distance for our worker to go to drop wood off. The mill does the same, but the mill will only accept food. And then we've got the village hall, which is another one of these, which will accept all 4 resources, and we can use it to build more workers. And then Archimedes mirror, which we'll get into at the bit, but that's like the end game thing that you're working towards. So really, you're just looking to try and build up your resources a little bit, get more workers, get more food, build up your resources. I'm going to build a few houses here. Oh, not enough wood. Start building.
Okay. This is quite cool. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, it's a little bit buggy because I didn't really working by myself, and Will know this. You really got to try and balance developing and testing. And I didn't balance that as well as I should have. So I didn't notice some of the bugs until it was too late. But generally, it's enough there for you to get the vibe of the game. So you can see we're getting more houses. This is upping our pop cap. If this guy finishes building, there's no other buildings to build. He'll just go back to his idle state. Reminds me of Settlers. Oh yeah, except it's kind of impossible to lose this. Or I won't say impossible, but it's very difficult. You can just yeah, I would say it's more of a case of you can soft lock yourself as opposed to it being impossible. As you ask some questions, I'm just going to load up Spotify and bring up a little bit of stream music.
Yeah, if that's all right. I have a few questions. So what are you using for prioritizing which resourcing together? Is it on distance? Is there any sort of algorithm accounting for obstacles in the way, or is it just straight as the crow flies distance, or anything like that?
That started. Let me know if you guys can't hear the music at all. I'll turn it up a little bit. I never played Settlers yet, so I won't know. But this kind of has no. It's really difficult to lose this. So what was that? Sorry. How am I prioritizing what resource to get?
Yeah. So when you tell someone, hey, go get some berries, how are they? There are multiple berries available, right? How are
Yeah.
they figuring out? I'll get this one.
Okay. So they start off in there's a list for each task, and when they go from idle to berry, they enter a new state. So for people who aren't familiar with state machines, a state machine is effectively your code can move from one state to another with each state performing a different task. So if it's idle, it's not doing anything. If it goes to berry gathering, it enters the berry gathering. So when it enters the berry gathering state, the game has track of different zones of resources. So for example, this is one zone of berries. It calculates how many like berry bushes are in the game on like the whole map, and has a list of them. And when a worker enters, say, the berry gathering state, it will get a list. Thank you very much for the follow, Andrina. I butchered that name. I'm so sorry, but welcome on into Woodland Rangers. I'm so kidding. Yeah, so it's got a list of all the berry bushes in the game, and when a worker enters the berry gathering state, it basically calls a function that calculates what is the closest berry bush, and that's when it will start working towards that berry bush.
Cool. So the list that you're using for these berry bushes, is that dynamic? Is that something preset?
So at the moment, it's preset. I'll get to that in a moment, Max. I did the functionality to start adding dynamics so that resources will start to grow back is initialized, but I didn't get time to finish it. So unfortunately, there are finite resources that are preset, but there's quite a lot of them. It's a pretty sizable map.
No, I think that's intentional or not. I think that's good balancing. The more you squander them, the further you have to go, and it takes you longer to do things.
Yeah. Go on.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, actually, the chat has a question. I don't want to be talking over them all night.
That's fair.
Max asks, what language did you code the game in?
The
C sharp.
Yeah, C Sharp. It's using the Unity game engine, using C Sharp. I think Unity does support a few other languages still, doesn't it? But C Sharp's its main one. Certainly, for me personally, C Sharp is the language I have the most experience in, and is one of the languages I would say is generally one of the best to work with for game development. Other languages can certainly be used and may have certain advantages over it. But a lot of engines nowadays are typically built in C++ to get the speed and efficiency of C++, while allowing developers to write scripts in C Sharp, which makes it a lot easier for a developer to be able to build what they're wanting out of it. C++, while is a lot more efficient and a lot more powerful, takes a lot longer to build anything as a result of that, because the developer has a lot more to manage, where C Sharp manages a lot of that for you. Folks have used other languages like Java and such to build games, and you can do it. Minecraft originally was made in Java, but I would typically lean more on C Sharp myself than Java for a number of reasons. Some of the strengths of Java don't necessarily equate as well to game development as some of the strengths of C++. C Sharp and that, sorry.
So just to toss some additionals into that. So Unity, it does support a huge number of languages. Really, anything that you want to write in, you can do in Unity for the most part. It does support C Sharp. Its primary is actually its own scripting language. It has its own JavaScript derivative called UnityScript, which it was more of a thing back in the day. It's still certainly present now. I don't think it makes up the majority anymore. I imagine C Sharp is a high majority, but Java's all right. Java's fine, but I think C Sharp is it's the modern day way to go for anything that's not a big business. I think is maybe a fair assessment. I think most indie games nowadays are C Sharp. If you're looking at something bigger, you're probably looking at C++. Anything Unreal is usually C++ as well. It doesn't support C Sharp for whatever.
Really? I didn't know it didn't support that.
It doesn't. I know.
That's a very interesting choice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think they didn't want to. I think it's a licensing thing, to be honest. C Sharp is Microsoft in it. And
yeah. I can't blame them. Microsoft are, well, let's not go too far into that. Safe to say I've had my problems with Microsoft products.
Yeah, I was moaning to you on Friday about how much I hated them for their controller. But the thing is, I came home today to a mysterious box and I opened it, and there was actually a brand new controller in there that works perfectly. That they reckoned that they weren't sending me, but it is here and it is brand new, and it's actually nicer than the one that I sent. It's an upgraded model, so I'm actually not going to throw my hat in the ring on this one. I'll stay quiet about it. They've certainly got their faults, but in this one instance, they did very well.
I suspect, not to be a downer, but I suspect that is more their incompetence than them doing their jobs properly. But yes, at least it's worked well for you.
I actually think somebody snuck it in the factory, because they sent an email that was like, "Yeah, we couldn't find a fault with the controller. We're returning it." But this is clearly not the controller they were supposed to return. But it's customized. It like has my name on it and stuff. So like somebody intended to have this built.
Okay,
I don't know.
yeah.
There's something going on there.
Something going on. So you can see we've got a little bit going on now, but you can start to see some of the bugs making themselves known. So for some reason we have some workers over here just. I don't really know what's going on with these. So these guys are meant to be collecting stone. We can see the task here if we select them, but they're just kind of standing there. Even if we unassign everyone from getting stone, oh, they're now idle. Oh, if I set them to something else, will that now? Oh no, they're still just.
So are they attempting to mine the wall, or is this?
No. So stone is like this stuff. So all the
okay.
resources have like a unique prefab. So stone is here. We've got berry bushes over here. We can see how much is left in each one if we select it. Those guys are bugged out a little bit as well. Wood, and then over here you can see we've got some workers making the long gold trek to the nearest source of gold, which is over here.
Okay.
Um,
Not to get too technical too fast, but would it be possible for us to have a snoop at those two guys and see, maybe have a look at the nav mesh and see if they are, see where they're
yes.
trying to go, and see if, just have a cheeky sneak at what's going on there.
Okay, so for benefit of everyone else, what we're looking here is the scene view. This is the developer's view. It allows us to move around the game. You can see in a more free-form view, so we can see what's going on.
And for the benefit of everybody, including both of us, if you go to the top right where it says layout, you can disable the UI layer, and then we will have the big grey blocks flowing. No, top right, top right.
Oh,
No,
aha! Fuck off!
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That you have no idea how much that annoyed me during the game jam.
It's the worst. It's the worst. I have every 5 minutes in breakout, it drives me up the wall.
Okay. So these are workers down here. This is our, like, all the game objects in the scene. So if we look here, we can see this one is meant to be collecting wood.
Oh, interesting. So I assume we are supposed to be moving them on the Z-axis, right? You're supposed to be moving them Z being forward.
No, they can go uphill. So if I enable the nav mesh, and for everyone else's, the nav mesh is basically the area that the AI workers are meant to be able to walk.
I think
I don't know what they're doing.
I think there's something applying a force to them somewhere along the way, or a force on movement, because I would expect, because there's like a little raycast coming off their head, which I'm assuming is indicating the forward vector.
Just say this looks like a path they're trying to follow, and it is heading towards the tree. So I don't know what.
Something's sharing.
Yeah, I don't know what could be applying force. Oh, hang on. Oh wait, no. Oh, it's not. Hang on.
Oh yeah. Set that as kinematic.
Oh, you absolute! Is this the You mother!
Oh, there he goes.
This is the annoying bit. Like, so some of this in game jams, a lot of the bugs you see in game jam games, like 9 times out of 10, they are very easily fixed. Stuff like that. Like, that means that we could, if we restart the game, we could actually fix it for all workers in one go. We go here, worker. Down here. So this is the prefab. So anytime we make a worker, this is like the settings it uses for that worker. So we've checked one box. If we run the game now, it should be absolutely fixed.
So, are you using the rigid body anywhere for any calculations?
No, I think it was only for collider stuff.
Oh, that bash has its own collision built in.
Does it? Ah, now that would have been useful. Okay. Well, I won't remove it because, like, I don't want to change this project too much. I like to try and keep.
That's fair.
I like to try and keep a lot of my project. I mean, I've got the backup of the original, so we can actually come to think of it. But yeah, so that's really annoyed me. That I knew there was gonna be some.
My intention was not to come here and kick down the door and make it annoying. I was just curious.
It like absolutely do it, because at the end of the day, this is part of what it's like reviewing like past projects, isn't it? Especially game jam projects. When you're trying to make something a small amount of time, especially when you've not necessarily slept well. I can tell you now, some of the code is nowhere near as efficient as it should be. For example, I was talking about states earlier and how we've got a different state for each of these resources. Each of those has a unique state class, which is like specific to that resource. I realized after the jam that actually it's the same code for all 4 resources. I could have used the same code for it and just changed like the name of the resource it was gathering, which would have saved me like a good few hours. Didn't think about it.
But
like,
you know what? I think it's nice to write nice and efficient stuff. It's nice to be efficient with your time and to be efficient with the computer resources that you've got. But at the end of the day, people who are playing it, and in this case the Twitch stream, right? They don't, not in a rough way, they don't care about the behind the scenes and how efficient it is. As long as the frame rate is solid enough, you know, if it works, it works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's more from a like use of my time point of view.
Yes, I get that. That's the important bit.
Yeah.
In a game jam, that's the real.
Yeah, so I wrote custom code for all 4 of them. I realized afterwards I could have used the same bit of code, which could have saved me, looking back, maybe 2 hours roughly. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but when your total time is only 48, it's surprising how much even a few hours makes.
Oh, it is. I mean,
yeah.
even if you weren't going to spend that 2 hours actually working on the projects, that's 2 hours that you could have napped, 2 hours that you could have gone and eaten or whatever. It's 2 hours that could have been optimized in a different way, you know.
Yeah, and that is important to note. Like the amount of time you spend sleeping. A good few years ago, I did a video on YouTube or another channel talk about sort of hints and tips that myself, Will, and a few of the other guys we've done jams with would give. And most of like the key ones, I think, which probably still hold true, are things like communication, planning, sleeping, and eating.
That's it, sir.
Yeah.
I would emphasize eating is good. Not eating fast food for every single meal that you're going to do is possibly better. It's not saying that you have to go home and cook a Sunday roast every single, every few hours, but just something to break it. Even if it's just going to like Greg's and getting a sausage roll, at least it's something that's not deep fried.
Yeah. Like it's slightly hypocritical. We do sometimes like overdo it on not sleeping or overdo it on like bad food. But so long as you're doing something,
well, let's clarify. Sorry.
Go on.
Let's clarify for the chat. We don't follow our own advice.
Yeah.
But we should.
I just wanted to put that out there because we can be pretty bad at that.
We're awful at it. We're awful at it, and this is why we always feel awful afterwards. This is why none of us have a good hairline. But you can probably keep it good if you follow this advice.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of folks. I hate saying that, Torch, but in this case, that is pretty apt. Do as I say. Do as monkey say, not as monkey do, is the way I usually refer to it. I don't like saying stuff like that because I don't like being a hypocrite, but it is a little bit of the case here. But
yeah, well, I think it's one of them where like you should follow the advice, and if you're not going to, then accept the horrendous consequences that will follow it. We accept the consequences.
I think the other thing in our defense is at this point we've been doing jams long enough to know where our limits are. We know at what point we need to go to sleep, at what point we need to get food, if we need to make sure that what we're eating is good food. Because we've gone through it all and know we've learned when we need to like stop and take a break. You'll see a lot of folks who are relatively new to jamming trying not sleep at all through an entire 48-hour jam, and that not only is not healthy, but is actually counterproductive. You will get to a point where you're actually going to do less work staying up than if you go and nap even for only 2 or 3 hours and then come back to it. Like you regularly take a power nap in the night, don't you, Will?
Yeah, it flits back and forth. I think when we're doing it as a team, I tend to take naps a lot more. The last year when we did global, there's normally a team of 3 of us that do it. One of our members couldn't make it, so we decided that we'd do our own separate projects just for the year and see how it went out. And it was a nice little exercise. But yeah, for that one when I was on my own, I think I only power nap for a couple of hours. Maybe 3 or 4 at push, and it was I can't lie, it was productive, but and I was happy with the end product that I got in the end. But because I'm still working on that end product now to bring forward to release properly. And I'm going through and having to neaten up a lot of the rougher areas and stuff, and you can see the downtrend of like things that were written early on and work well and are designed well, and the things that sort of kind of maybe lose the plot a little bit towards the end, as the hallucinations take hold, and you start to see things out the corner of your eyes.
So talking of like bad implementations, I can give one here which, when Will pointed out how I should have done this properly, my head hit the table, literally and quite physically. It hurt, and I do not regret it. So, in order to select things, Will's going to know why I'm going for this almost immediately.
I do.
When we select things here, the game uses what's called a raycast. So a raycast is basically an invisible line from point A to point B, and you can use it for detecting what a user's clicking on. If one game object has line of sight on another game object, to try and calculate distance, you can use them for all kinds of things. In this particular case, I'm using a raycast from the user's mouse to see what they're clicking on. So it's firing an invisible line from the mouse to the object that you're clicking on, and then getting the details of that object. And when it does that, it's able to display properties of that object on our selection screen over here. So if I select stone pile, we can see resource stone and the amount left behind. However, this meant that when I do as I say, not as I do. Damn, I didn't want that quite in there. Nice catch. When clicking on the UI, these raycasts were going through and they was fucking up with the UI. So what did I do? Well, if I go in the scene view and we select not the player, the camera UI blocker. So the camera is up here. This is the camera that the player uses to see what's going on. And you'll see there's an invisible plane, or like a one-sided plane that's invisible. If I enable this mesh renderer, you can see there's a big red plane there, and that's to like stop these raycasts. So when the player's clicking on the UI, it's not selecting items. The player can use the UI. No, there's actually just a setting on the canvas. Where is it, Will?
It's that graphic raycaster, I think.
The graphic raycaster somewhere on here.
Yeah, it's
there, down here.
The blocking mask. Yep.
Yeah. So if I've just changed this setting, then I wouldn't have needed to have set up this invisible floating plane. Well,
we all learn at different points, right? You know.
I will say, so for this idea that I had, I thought setting up the state machines and the workers and the code and all of that was going to be the time-consuming part. It really wasn't. In fact, I would say we should bear this in mind, Will, for future games. Not necessarily this specific idea, but this way of like using AI agents with states. I think you've done it before, but using the animator.
Yeah, so the animator has a built-in, essentially is a state machine just for animations, but you can run code off them. You don't have to do animations, and I've used it like a state machine. The last feed that I've done by myself, I've used it as a state machine, and I seem to think, in fact, I'm quite confident that when we did, not last year's, maybe the year before, we did
Dog of War.
That's the one. Yeah.
Paws of War.
So
yes.
Yeah, we did. So it was like a third-person shooter, but all the enemies, there was a few different enemy types in that, and they had different sort of states that they would be in. So there was like a shooting one where you would have a state of running point to point. Well, they had an idle state, then they had a state of running point to point, and then when they reached the point, they would have a state of shooting, and it would it had like a flow to it, which we did using the animator. It doesn't have to be using the animator. Things such as like you've done here, good example of state machines. If you've played the game within the last 20 years, chances are it's using state machines for everything, for the most part.
As Will said, he was using the animator, which gives him more of a graphical interface that you can utilize, whereas I was writing it in code, and so like state base class over here that everything else was inheriting. Usually, using a GUI is less powerful but quicker. And that's a very quick generalization, but there's a lot of like caveats to that would take too long to go into. But
Yeah,
no, it was actually really quick for me to do. What took me forever and what ended up stopping me from doing so the other bits I wanted to do was a lot of this UI work. This was a bloody nightmare. Like,
really?
yeah. So for example, watch here. If I open up the canvas, I'll explain the canvas a little bit. So we've got the top bar up here, which just contains the text for our PopCap, the gold resources. Then we've got our left bar, which is split into our combat section, doesn't exist, our workers section, our building section. Each of those three are like 3 different panels that are just enabled and disabled depending on what they've selected. For buildings that we're going to have a production menu though, i.e. the village hall, you're going to hate this, Will. I hate it. It instantiates a new panel. But this new panel is part of the selection panel script, and it is updating every frame in like a very like spammy way behind the scenes that's like breaking stuff that like it's not reporting errors, but right now I guarantee you the Unity engine is crying. Every frame I have this open.
So what's it doing every frame? What's it trying to do?
It's just updating this panel every frame.
Updating what?
Nothing.
What
It's just updating. So okay, it's updating the text and that every frame. Part of that was because when you were making a villager, there was originally going to be a time, like a production time for the villagers, and there is the code for some of that in the back end. But I ran out of time, and I'd had an idea for how I could put in an ending to this game for the demo, which we'll get onto in a moment. But yeah, it's just in the back end because it's instantiated from the selection panel script, and the selection panel is basically checking if it has an instantiated panel. The rough idea of how it worked isn't a bad one. It's just the execution of it was absolutely awful. Second part of that quote, could you please stop listening to me? I'm a terrible teacher.
I like that one. I like that one.
Not entirely wrong.
So here's something fun, right? So Dawn of War 1. This was on an older channel of yours, so I think some audience members may know this, some may not. Some may have just played it themselves. But there's an RTS called Dawn of War, and it has really good mod tools because essentially they're just the developer tools, right? You can pick the whole thing apart, and you can see everything of how it works, and it's all very nice, right? Now I think in my experience with modding other RTSs, I think this is maybe the standard, and I've just never really thought about it this way. So the way that handles its UI for different buildings and whatnot is it's essentially it's always got the UI there. It just has it as blank spots. It's not necessarily disabled. There's no images in place. There's no text in place or anything like that. So it's always there. You're just not seeing it. And then essentially every building would have a reference to that part of the UI. And rather than constructing new stuff there, it just basically fills out the stuff or the slots that are already there. So for instance, it would have your UI here would always have a village hall, a health, a food.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
Sections. Yeah.
But time, so I thought I'd try making a shortcut, and that shortcut ended up costing me more time. Is the honest answer.
It works. That's what matters.
Yeah. Again, you can see the workers getting a little bit buggy. They're sometimes gathering around resources. That's because, one, as I said, I didn't have time to test it properly, working by myself. I didn't get that balance right. And two, just again, time. But that would be very easily fixed. It would be probably only an hour or so, if that, for me to implement systems to stop things like this, where they'll be collecting wood. This is most likely happening because they've started pathing to a tree to start gathering resources from that tree, but that tree's been cut down by another worker before they've got there. So they're now confused because they're looking for a specific tree that's already been cut down. Like, it would have been very easy to avoid stuff like that happening. Just again, time, and I didn't consider it, didn't have time to test it. But yeah, I'd like to revisit this kind of thing. Like, at some other jam in a team, I'd like to try and play around with like AI agent states again. Now that I've done it once, I could do it a lot quicker and with a lot less bugs, especially if I'm doing it as part of a team. But obviously, it comes down to next time we do work as a team, what do we end up building? Does it fit in with the theme? Stuff like that.
Yeah, when the theme turns out to be like bubbles, then you know, working it in is going to be a hell of a thing. But hey, the themes are usually quite fast and loose, right? We've
Yeah.
had we had waves in the past,
That was
which
the first one
produced
we did,
everything
yeah.
from produced everything from surfing to Mexican waves to ours which used like sound waves to see things, and everything in between. Really, there was a lot of variety in that one.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of my favorite themes. Maybe a little bit of nostalgia there, because it was our first jam, but also just like it was the concept of waves could go really far. Everything from ocean waves, as you said, to like sound and light waves and stuff. I still liked our first game from that.
I think that one was good. I like those things. Like I say, it's so open. The other one that I really like was that we did one where the theme was home, which I mean that really got a variety. We got a guy. Ours was like about a mech suit, sort of defending a house. A guy did like a game about like an art piece on homelessness. What else was in that one? There was quite a lot, wasn't there?
Oh, remember, we've seen that many games over the years. I'd
There's
have
too
to
many.
look back at the jam. That one definitely had some good games, though. Yeah, also some really meme games. There was one guy, we don't see him anymore, but back when we did a lot more jams more frequently, there was one guy who would just make meme games. He would ignore the theme, he'd ignore modifiers, he'd just go in and he'd make an absolute joke of a game, but it would always have people in like tears of laughter by like the end of his demo at the end of the jam. It was always hilarious. You remember the guy I'm on about, Will?
I do, and just to clarify for the chat, when he says we don't see him anymore, he doesn't mean he's dead, and he doesn't mean that we hate him. He just he goes and does other life things rather than turning up to waste 48 hours.
Yeah. For a little more clarification, we did a lot more jams when like me, Plus, and Tim was still at university, and Will would come down and join us, and we did sometimes 4 or 5 jams a year. We did quite a lot.
My God, what a killer! I didn't go to uni with these guys. I went straight into work from college, and I would regularly be working like midnight shifts, and that's I would do a midnight shift and then go straight to the game jam, 48 hours staying up, and then go straight from that into like an early open in the next one. It was a mad time. It was a mad time.
Yeah, we don't do it anymore. None of us are at university. We all work full time and stuff like that. So the only jams that you'll typically see me, Will, and Plus that now is global. I will do Can Jam at my old university. I'll travel back to my old uni for Can Jam. But that's still only really 2 a year at most. It's finding the time nowadays and stuff, because like even after the jam, you've got to recover. You guys probably noticed that I was struggling a little bit last week. That's because I didn't have that recovery time from a 48-hour jam, even though I purposely slept both nights and took it a lot easier. It still takes it out of you. It's mentally draining. Yeah. Another fun fact, I actually don't know what the cause of this, so that's a lot of errors. I didn't expect that.
So what? This is the worker trying to get to the tree.
Yeah, most likely, because
So
he'll be doing that every second.
So for the chat, for things like this, you can just if anybody wants to do game jams or game development in general, this sort of thing you can do, which is not this isn't a slight. It's not normal to do this kind of thing for game jams. Normally, you just soak it up. So you can do a thing called error handling, where like you put in a little if statement in your code where you say, well, if the tree is no longer there, and the target that I'm trying to reach is empty, right? Well, let's find a new tree, and then you would run either a little bit of code, or you'd reuse a bit from earlier that would rerun the algorithm to find the tree that you would want, and then it would all be happy roses, and it wouldn't be red anymore. In theory,
Even like a try
in
catch and
theory,
stuff like that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't typically bother with try catches in a game jam, but certainly, as Will said, I would usually do like checks. If we'd been working as a team and I hadn't have been having to do other bits like the UI work and stuff like that, I would have absolutely done that with these guys and put in those extra guards to stop them bugging out, done more testing with them to make sure they were working properly. I'll start the game again though to show one bug which I honestly don't know where this is coming from, what the cause is, or how to fix this. But the first time you ever select something in this game, we get a no reference exception. Now,
please, let's debug it. I want to figure it out.
If you can, because to give a little more detail, no reference exception, that usually means you're trying to access an object that doesn't exist. That is usually what that means. But for some reason, it never shows up again. Like, you can make more stuff, you can, like, assign various tasks, like, it select all sorts, like, start building shit. It never shows itself again. It's this 1-1, and it's in script selection panel line 41. It's this line of code, which, to give a little more detail, I was saying earlier about raycasts, and using that to determine what the player's clicking on. That's what this function is doing. Every frame that the computer draws, it's checking if the player's clicking on the screen. If the player is clicking on the screen, it's firing the raycast, and it's seeing if the raycast hits anything. If it does, it checks the tag of what it's hitting. A tag is something you can use to, like, basically be an identifier for a type of object. So it's checking that the tag would be something like building or worker or something like that. And if it is, it's going to a selection panel to fill out those details. You want to debug it, Will?
Yeah, no, I'll give it a go. So let's crack open this check game object tag function. Let's have a look at that. So we're looking at line 41. Okay, so title.text. Right, so your actual okay, so here's where your actual error is. It's title.text equals object name. So I'm guessing we're failing to get the object name. Is my feel. Now what?
Maybe, but it's got the object because it's got the object tag already. So what if it's title.text? Is that maybe?
Possibly. Oh, hang on. Oh, you know what? Okay, now it is a stab in the dark, but it could be an ordering issue. So when you run a game, for the chat, when you run a game, all of your scripts, technically, unless you've told it otherwise, will start running at the same time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're running in synchronization with each other. A lot of the time they can become desynchronized and whatnot. Normally it's not a problem too much. Normally they're pretty in sync unless you're doing something on purpose. However, the starting bits and bobs, sometimes something. So for instance, that top line there, right, where it says private void start title equals, and then you've got your get component, right? Now, what that get component is doing is that each object in Unity has its own little collection of stuff that tells an object what to do. It's technical terms. And that line is finding a specific little bit of stuff on a specific object, and then storing it. But that as a command takes time to do. It takes time for the computer to run. And in the time that that's running, other stuff can have skipped ahead a little bit and be doing its own thing. And it might have got a little bit further ahead in its code than it's expecting to. So it might be that the other thing that Matt's running here is already got to the step where it's trying to access this title, and this script is still trying to get the title from that starting bit, and therefore it's a little bit of desynchronization. So it's only when you first do it, because that's the first time that's run. But after that, it will work flawlessly every time because it's already got it. That's my guess.
It could be that, yeah. I know I spent about half an hour, maybe an hour, trying to figure this one out, but it ended up being a sort of null issue. Because it doesn't affect the gameplay at all. You can still select everything. It all still works. Even on that first selection, you could see that it was still displaying like the workers' stats where I clicked on them. So I just ended up leaving it. In a full game, no, you would go and fix that error.
Yeah, but in a game jam, it makes absolutely no difference.
Yeah, in a game jam, it's like
waste of time to hunt that down. If it's not causing any problems, I mean, really, if any error is not causing problems, like real problems that you are like noticeable, who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares? Even in actual games, there are still tons of errors that fire off all the time. But there's a certain amount that is acceptable, and there's a
yeah,
certain amount
it's
that is
kind of
not.
a priority thing. If you've got
Yeah.
a minor bug that's not really causing any serious issues, but it's going to take like several days for a single developer to fix, versus like a much bigger bug that's like causing a lot of players problems, you're going to ask your developer to go after the bigger bug. Like, sure, if they get time, they'll come back to the minor one. But if it's not causing any real issues and you've got bigger priorities, which is usually the case, especially on like huge AAA games, you're going to want your developers to prioritize. Like, it is a case of picking your battles, even more so in a game jam, because you're on such a tight time frame. You're effectively, a good way of looking at a game jam is that you're trying to make a prototype. Sure, you can try and make a full polished game, like we've done it before, but typically you're more prototyping as opposed to making a released product. So if you get into that mind frame, I find it kind of helps you out a little.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think it also helps set your expectations personally as well. You don't, if you come out of it expecting to have something that's right, well, this will be on Steam tomorrow. You might end up leaving a little disappointed because it's not really what a game jam's about. It's more about fun for one, and just practicing and getting a little bit better at your skills with making games. And just, I think it's fair to say that it's good just in general for your life. I think it teaches you about time management and whatnot. I think it's just good on the whole.
It really is. Like, game jams are... I've said before, game jams are the best place to learn. If you want to try something new, game jam's great to learn a new engine, learn a new technology. If you've got an idea, just run with it. A game jam is an event where you have a period of time to try and build something, and there is no judgment. There's no, time limit. There's no other stakeholders. You're not being paid to it, so you've not got anyone over your shoulder expect a finished product. If you get to the end and the whole thing's on fire and just burns down, great. You've learned what not to do in the future. So jams really are like the best place to like just try this stuff and have a bit of fun with it. Like, cannot emphasize that bit enough. Just have some fun.
Yeah, and 90% of projects will crash and burn, and that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Part of the fun is that nobody there has a perfect game. Nobody is gonna produce the best thing that's ever been made ever, and you're kind of all in it a little bit together. So you all come out of the trenches at the end, and you all show you're like kind of a little bit dysfunctional, but like everyone can kind of see where the concept was going. Prototypes, and you get a little round of applause. Maybe you get a cheeky little chocolate or medal or something if you're real good, and it's just a good time. It's just a good time.
I think one of the things that I've loved about where we've done game jams is it's got a great community feel. It's like we've got the most experience, so typically we're able to put together something a little more full than some of the first years, but that's just our experience showing. Like, and there's still always, like, you look at some of the first years, and every single jam, they'll bring in like a new unique idea, or they'll have made something that is still like a good, technically like challenging thing. And it's just that thing of supporting each other, sharing skills a little bit. Like, Will tell you, you'll often see me at jams. I'll sometimes walk away for a quick break. I'll just go and chat to the other teams, see what they're doing, see if they need a hand, give a bit of support. Will's done it a few times, Plus has done it a few times. It really is just an environment. Like, at the end of the day, you're staying up for a long period of time, trying to build something in a short period of time. Like, and it can be, like, really, it really does wear on you. So, like, you're all kind of there supporting each other to have a little bit of fun and learn something new.
Yeah. Of course, I go around to sabotage other teams and to lead them down the wrong path. But that's just because I'm competitive. It's different.
Oh, boy. So, at this point, I'll show the end stage for this game. The theme was mirrors, and the modifier, one of them was sunlight. I've already hit the AI modifier because I've got the workers, got that AI in there. So originally, as I said, there was going to be a combat unit. I didn't have time to finish it. Some of the initialization and work is done in the background to start those. Didn't have time to put them in. Because it was going to be a wave-based survival RTS. So up at the top of the map here, there's actually, you can see there's areas like this where the armies were going to spawn in, then come down to your base. Didn't have time to implement that though. So instead, I decided, well, what if they had to build a structure instead? Oh, I now can no longer select. Ooh. Okay. I don't know what's up with Unity. I can't select the scene. Well, that's concerning. I can still.
I just click onto the hierarchy. Can you? Yeah,
I can still select those. Ah, there we go.
I just know all the back ends.
Probably.
All the dodgy ways. Go
on. But at this point, I had got construction working, so you could build 2 of the buildings, houses and villages. Fun fact, I got the mill, storage pit, and Archimedes mirror all complete within an hour. The last hour of the jam. I'd already set up all the work for it, so adding extra buildings at that point was easy. It was just a case of making the models and attaching the components. So I decided instead of like dealing with attackers, you'd have to make a building to win the game. So I decided Archimedes mirror. I was going to have ships and that, but I'd need to model ships. So instead I decided, right on, I've already got building models. So the story is, the village next door to you has insulted your honor and your village's honor for the last time. So you're going to make those motherfuckers burn.
remarkably peaceful.
I know, right? It looks so homely. And you're going to go and give them all really nasty sunburn. So the aim is for you to basically get enough resources to build Archimedes mirror. So 1,000 wood, 400 stone, 2,000 gold. Now, obviously, when we do demos at the end of Jam, we only get about 5 mates a game to demo them. So I didn't have time to build up all the resources. So I actually put in a cheat code. I'm not going to tell folks what it is, but you might look at the resources and notice they're very quickly going up. Yeah, all those resources.
What's the button for that in real life?
I'll send it to a message to you in Discord. Remind me later.
I meant in real life.
Oh, in real? I fucking wish. So I'm just gonna get those guys to stop doing that and get all of them to start building houses so that I can like spam a load more workers. Because the pop cap limits 25 unless I build more of them. So now I can build Archimedes mirror. You can build it up there, and then we can get more workers. They all burst a little bit. Now, annoyingly, these houses are closer, so they're going to build those, but they'll go up there in a minute.
Is there a designated area that you have to place the mirror, or will it work anywhere?
Are you asking story-wise or mechanically-wise?
Well, I was asking mechanically, but if you've contrived a plot reason why
I
you've made a
mean,
certain decision,
you
then
can't
I'm open
burn
to
the
it.
village if the mirror's behind the fucking hill.
No, of course not.
So, naturally, there's no mechanical reason to why you can't build Archimedes' mirror behind the hill. It will still burn the fucking village.
Well, maybe it shoots. Maybe it redirects the sun around the curvature of the Earth to loop back around and then hit the target. Because you can bend light if you get cheeky enough.
Yeah. So that I was gonna put something in there, but like I said, it got to the last hour where I was putting it in, and I wanted to get the storage pit and the milling because it makes gathering resources a little bit easier. Otherwise, you'd have to like save to build a village hall near every resource. It's just a nightmare. But you can see we've got these workers here now. You can have multiple workers on on the same task, and it will speed it up. So if you look here, one worker has a progress rate of 1 a second. So this, because it's got multiple workers on it, is going up a lot faster. I'm going to see if I can get more workers on it. There should be more. I don't know where. Oh, they're all down there.
So the rate at which that's going up, is there like the unusual sort of cadence of the number going up? Is because from when they spawn, it will
yes,
it's one every second.
From one
so
when they
their
spawn.
spawns are offset. Right, got it.
Yeah. So I'll show the state code in a moment, but the way the state's working is so in Unity you've got an update function, and the update function runs once every frame. Now, you don't really need to be getting your workers to run an update every frame. That's just going to be wasting CPU resources. So instead, I've got it set up so that it runs once a second. But that means it's running once a second starting from when they were first spawned. Now, not all of these are going to be able to be helping because they're not all close enough. And unfortunately, I didn't make them smart enough to like gather around. Hey, there we go. We can see the village is on fire.
Oh, so it is.
I'm actually really happy with that model. I spent more time than I should have.
Do I spy a texture on it as well?
No, it's solid colors. It's just
okay.
if I load,
you've
I've subdivided the face and then shrunk it a little bit and put a slightly different color on it.
Got you.
Which I might say so myself, but I think it works pretty well. That.
Yeah. Not bad at all.
Yeah, so now you've won the game. Text pops up to tell you you've won, but it closes after a short while in case you want to keep playing. And then you can just like keep harvesting resources and stuff. So there isn't a quit button if you play the game, hence why it tells you to press Alt F4 if you want to leave.
Sounds to me like there is a quit button.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, to look at the code itself, if I bring up the worker, so this is the script for the workers themselves. So when we that's assigning them a new task. So every time they get a new task, it's creating a new state, and this state holds the code for them to do that task. So if they're told to go collect food, it creates the state that holds the code for them to gather food. If I come up here, this is the update function I spoke about. This runs every frame. But as I said, we don't need to update the worker's code every frame because that's just wasting CPU. That would be poorly optimized. So instead, what this is basically doing is it's counting down a second every time and then runs it once a second. And once a second, it'll run the update loop of whatever state the agent is in. So that's the base. If we go into like the berry gathering state, for example, so this is the code it uses to go and collect food. Once a second, the worker will run this loop, and it basically checks, am I traveling to the berries? Am I next to the berries? Or do I need to take resources back to the resource building? So it's running that every second. And then when it's like gathering the berries, this is effectively the same kind of code for all the tasks. It's basically going, right, once a second, I'm going to grab one more berry. I'm going to grab one more berry. I'm going to grab one more berry. And it's doing the same for like the building task, collecting any of the resources. So if you've got multiple workers around one thing, that's what's causing it to go up like multiple times a second. Because you've got multiple workers all adding one a second. I did set it up because I wanted, I didn't think I had time to do it, but I set it up this way anyway. I wanted to set it up so you could maybe do some research to speed up the workers. Which would have been easy enough to do if I'd had time once.
It's always the way, isn't it? There's always, here's the next piece of game advice. There's always something that you think you would like to do that will never, ever, ever end up being feasible by the end of it, for whatever reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we've got any questions on this one, feel free to hit us up. If not, I have another project me and Will can have a chat about. But if you've got any more questions you want to ask about this one or about game jams or anything, stick them in chat. We'll answer them for you. You got anything, Will?
I'm happy to let the chat take this one. Well,
honestly,
actually, no, I do have one question.
What?
What is the maximum amount of dudes that you can have before it starts tanking?
I didn't test that. So I haven't put in a limit beyond the pop cap. So the theoretical limit would probably be however much wood is on the map to let you build houses. But it would likely start tanking before then. How far you could go, though, let's see if we can find out while we give chat a moment to... We're going to need a lot of houses. You might have noticed you can build buildings inside of each other. That's because I didn't get it to check if something's already there. So...
That's just a house example. It's an apartment at that point, actually.
Yeah, not wrong. So the workers aren't going to be able to reach some of those. So if we just get a load to go building now, be able to start making more. How do you rate this game jam project with school exam rating? Oh.
What, like A, B, C, D?
Yeah, I'm guessing, I assume you mean by like grading it A, B, C, D, max. Little hard to say because it depends what you're marking it on. Because there's, So, yeah, it would depend what you're marking it on, because there's various things you could mark this on. You could mark it on implementation, which, if you look at raw implementation, I would mark it a little bit lower, because it is a rush job. It was done in a short amount of time, and there are bugs there. Like you can see, some of the workers are just chilling out over here. But if you were marking it on like idea or concept in terms of game design, maybe a little bit higher. Then again, even on implementation, based on what I had to do at university myself, I'd probably end up marking it higher actually. Because some of the stuff we did at university was fairly simple. We never made a state machine. So it'll probably end up scoring higher than what I think, just because it's a state machine, even though it's poorly implemented. If I had to give it an overall grade based on general game jam games, I would probably give it maybe a low B, maybe a high C, a low B, I think. What about you, Will, from what you've seen?
This is a minefield to step into. You know what? I'm gonna rate this based on the projects that I've seen you do yourself by yourself. I think, and I've not seen everything that you've ever done. Bear in mind. I would rate this as a solid B plus personally. I think, obviously this is the outside looking in, right? I mean, you see all the behind the scenes nastiness and all that, but I think outside looking in, yeah, I'd play this. I'd play this for a little while. It's good. I enjoy it. I think the style is a little nice. I think the amount of men that are charging forward enjoyable. No, I think it's there's I think the thing is you could play this and think, right, I can see where the guy's going with this, and I can see how this would go on to grow to be like a full scale game, and that I think is a good marker for it.
Yeah, I honestly look at this. I've said I'd love to like try and continue it. I've said that with most Game Jam games though, so it wouldn't likely happen. But like certainly looking at it now and like knowing how it went, I do think you could make this into a bit of a game. I'd start a new project for it, reuse some of the assets. But I do think if you're only looking for like a small kind of chill game experience, like a small little like village simulator, this concept and styling would work fairly well. So yeah, I could kind of see that. I think I'm rating it a little bit lower just because I know I can do better with the implementation. I should have spent more time planning. Development is meant to be my strong point, so I'm a little bit annoyed that there's more bugs in there than what I would like. But again, that's kind of normal with game jams, and especially when working solo. I was pushing the boundaries a little bit more on innovation and seeing what would work, as opposed to trying to make a complete gaming experience. So I suppose I should bear that in mind.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Yeah. In a quick answer for you, Will, to your earlier question, we've got 150 dudes and we're still getting like over 150 FPS. I should point out I've still got like 3 other Unity projects open, as well as the stream and everything else. So I think the answer's a fair few AI agent.
So what I'm hearing is keep adding more.
My finger's going to get sore at this rate, dude.
Hey, here's a fun fact for you. Since you've clicked on it and Unity has the event manager now, if you just hold down enter, it'll probably just spam it.
Nope.
You can mash enter.
I can mash enter, but that's not much better than just mashing the mouse button. Hang on, we're nearly at the podcast. There you go, we're at the podcast. We can't go any higher without like adding more houses, which there's already more than I ever expected. Have you performed a crash test for how much characters the game can handle? No, that was kind of what we were looking at here, Max.
Well,
if I had to guess, oh, go on, Will.
I was gonna say, if you just select that big blob of dudes and you just duplicate them a few times.
Oh, that.
Will they automatically fill out the stuff required to make that happen?
No, because they won't be added to the list. I would have to manually add them to the workers list, which means dragging them one at a time.
You can drag them multiple, but I still think that's not the best use of it.
I don't know how well it would handle that, unfortunately. It wasn't designed for them to be added in dev-wise. I should have. It would have been very easy to, but yeah, I didn't think to. Oh well. If I had to guess, though, it's probably quite a lot. Unity is surprisingly efficient at handling nav mesh agents. Like, people have done a lot of testing with the Unity engine before now with how much it can add. So, yeah, I think you'd be absolutely fine because most of them are doing very simple stuff. Oh, fuck off, looping! That's it. Get out of here, asshole. Yeah, most of them are very simple tasks. They're not doing anything complex. For the most part, the workers, in terms of like the CPU they're handling, are idling. They're only really running code once every like second, and it's very small code for the most part. There is the like the pathing itself, but even that hasn't got anything too complex as far as the pathing's going, because it's only got one nav mesh. It's all the cost for that nav mesh is just one. There aren't multiple agent types or anything like that. So you could probably easily run several hundred, probably get into the thousands before it would start lagging. That is an educated guess, though. I don't know if you would agree with that, Will.
No, I think that's a fair assessment.
That's fair.
I'd go with that.
All right then. Well, if that's all the questions on that one, we'll leave this project for now. If you guys want to see more Game Jam stuff, we've done like Game Jam review stuff before now. There is global Game Jam in January, which I'll definitely be at. Will said you might be at, didn't you?
Yes, I'm pending time off from work.
That's fair. And Plus might be there as well. So hopefully we'll be doing a team game. If not, I'll still be doing a solo game at least. So we'll probably do another like review of whatever comes out of that one. Are we talking about your project to come, Will?
We can dip on it a little bit if you want.
Yeah. Tell you what, talk about it a little bit while I get the next project ready.
Okay. All right. So like we said earlier, last year, myself and John, myself and Matt did separate projects for the Game Jam, and I was very pleased with the one that I made. It was a small-scale roguelite, um, and it's all about breaking out of a prison, and you'd go through a procedurally generated sort of prison space, and you'd fight your way through, and you have a big shotgun, you shoot robots, and they blow up, and blah blah blah. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. It was great. It got really good feedback at the event, and the people who played it afterwards really enjoyed it too. And I got a lot of encouragement to carry on. And it's not normally something that I do. It's not normally something that we do for our Game Jam projects. But this one felt like a little bit of an exception because it was one that I did on my own. So obviously, there's no me and Matt fighting for creative control. There's no, it's just a lot cleaner, right? So I've been working on it the past year. We are coming up to the release, which I'm very, very excited about. The original Game Jam version is still available to download on itch, but the new version of a game called Breakout, it's called, will be available on Steam within the next few months. I'll keep you updated. I will force Matt to play it on stream, so you will get to see it at some point.
Damn,
He has prior agreed to this. That I'm not actually forcing
Yeah,
him.
I have offered to advertise it. I was going to try and find Will's itch page, but
It's somewhere. I'll see if I can find it real quick.
yeah, because it's not. I thought we had it linked on the Mayo Doggo game, but no, that's everyone's Twitter, which I need to update because I don't use Twitter anymore. Twitter. Oh, we didn't anticipate Musk buying it out when we first started doing these itch pages. Let's put it that way.
It's had a bit of a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
that will be available. I'll put a link in the chat now. I've managed to find it. And if anybody would like to support the game or support me, I would very much appreciate if people would check out the Game Jam version for now, and then when the full big boy version comes along, maybe have a look at the very least John playing it too. It'd be very nice. So Matt has been playing it, helping me as one of the playtesters involved. Do you think it's maybe improved a little bit since then?
It's definitely improved. I still hold to the original Game Jam project you have being one of the best Game Jam games I've seen. I'm paraphrasing it with Game Jam games because there's a very clear difference, in case people haven't realised, between a game that's been worked on over a period of months and one that's been worked on in 48 hours. Hey, the Tortoise Teeny, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome on into the Woodland Rangers. Hi, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, there's a big difference. So while Will did incredibly well with what he had at the Game Jam, it's clearly had a lot more love and development since then, which has definitely helped the game grow into what it is now. I'm being booped. Quit booping me. So yeah, it's definitely come a long way since that original Game Jam game, I think.
Yeah, I think so. The original Game Jam game, it's mechanically it's quite simple. You've got a shotgun, blow dudes up. The current one, yes, you have a shotgun, yes, you blow dudes up. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more of a structure. There's a lot more of a curve to it. There's something like 7 or 8 times the amount of enemies in it. And there's a certain skill to how they, come about, how they interact. There's different mechanics and whatnot. There's things like player upgrades. There's things like a saving system, which is very nice. Different things such as different areas of this prison that unlock as you go through, as you go further on. Different sort of aesthetics come in, different mechanics within those as well. There's a whole lot more going on in Hollow Motive. I think there's a lot to look forward to with it.
Yeah, as Will said, we'll definitely be doing more. We'll definitely be taking a look when it's ready. We're not streaming anything yet because it is still in development, but it is slowly getting there. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye on the Discord, jump in there. It'll probably be a couple more months, I'm guessing, Will, but we're not going to put anything concrete on that. Games take time.
Yeah,
It's as
behind
simple
the
as that.
scenes there is a date. I'm not going to say it. Now there is technically there is a social media you can follow for it. That I set up when we first did this game, which is on Twitter. Now you can, if you'd like to follow that, you can. I don't know if I'd entirely recommend it because I don't think it'll get used that much. But I think at some point I'm looking at getting a subreddit set up. So if anybody's Reddit users, then we may have some sort of community hub on there.
Blue Sky is also pretty good, but I don't know if you plan on setting that up, and I'm not going to expect you to either commit or not to commit on that on stream. So,
we'll see. The amount of accounts to manage is yet to be decided.
I can fully get that as like a content creator who has accounts on however many platforms at this point. I can fully relate. So. Yeah, you want to train with Lakea, Tortoise Teeny. You don't want to go fighting any monsters just yet. Gotta get that experience. Once you hit level 5, you can start taking them on, bud. Ah. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't give a refund on those. Twitch system. I've developed a few toys, but unfortunately, Twitch don't make it easy. So, but hey-ho. Anyway, so moving on to the next project. This is one that some of you have seen before. Will has briefly seen it, and has recently, well, not that recently, but a while ago, and I only recently got a chance to add it in, made what the monster dudes for it. And you've not seen the implementation of the little steampunk dude yet, have you?
I have not, no. So I made this steampunk guy for Matt. I was quite pleased with him, actually. I think he's quite cool.
He does look really good.
Outside of the initial renders that I made when I sent it to you, and outside of maybe one Snapchat video.
Yeah, I sent you one the other day.
Yeah, and that's about it. I didn't see anything more.
Okay, so this is actually going to need a little bit of interaction from you guys, because this is a game we don't play. This is a game that's played by Twitch chat. I have set up a small little demo set of levels for you to go through. There's only 3 levels. They're very small. It'll only take you a few minutes. But it'll give you an idea of sort of the stuff that's in there. The idea is that I'll be able to make campaigns that can be loaded into the game later on. So it's not one set game as such. More of an engine that I can load games into later on and that you guys can then play. So we'll load it up. The menus and that are pretty basic. I'm not really got anything on track to do more with these yet because, well, the idea is you guys won't see much of the menus. But it's the first time Will's going to have got to see it go through. I would love to help. Awesome. Grand concept. You did ace making this sort of future-proofed. Yeah, it's still got a lot of work to do, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So, here we go. For folks to go in chat, basically, this is a turn-based roguelike. You can see it's round 1. You're the little capsule. There is an actual player model in that I made last night. It broke things, though. I might show it in a bit. But you guys decide what to do by voting what option you've got. And you can see how long you've got. Hang on, I've just realised something. 10 seconds last time was not very long, so I'm just going to change that real quick. if you want to make a vote, you put exclamation mark and the number at the option shown up in the top left of what you want to do. Oh, fuck. Oh, I accidentally showed stuff that I shouldn't.
A ranch table in a hole.
Here we
Ranch
go.
table in a hole?
What?
Sorry, I'm reading something in chat. I don't understand what that means.
A ratch table in a hole. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Hetsoy. I feel flag your fingers. Absolutely. You know what I'm like. I'm always building stuff for you guys. Right, you guys should have a little more time than 10 seconds to cast your votes now. Here we go, 30 seconds. So you can either not move. You've got, each round, you've got a movement phase and you've got a action phase. So right now it's your movement phase. You can move or not move. And it will only run the action phase if you have something to interact with. So if you guys move to the right here, it will skip your action phase because there'll be nothing on this tile, nothing around that tile that you can interact with. But when you move to this tile over here, it'll run the action phase because you can interact with the torch if you want. So we're now on round 2. What do you want to do? This blue tile over here will load you into the next level. Yeah, so I was setting up the player prefab last night, Will, with like a model I got online. You know that website you recommended ages ago? I've used other models at other jams you might not remember. Unfortunately, it's messing up with the player visibility. The raycasts seem to be getting stuck on that one, so I've got to figure that out before it can be used.
This is it. Another guess, stab in the dark. I'm guessing it's because you're trying to disable things using a mesh renderer, right? You're turning off the mesh renderer to stop them being visible.
Everything's invisible by just disabling the mesh renderer, and the visibility is set when the player moves. It fires a raycast to... Oh, you guys put out the torch. Okay, fair.
Anyway.
Who needs to see what they're doing, right? Yeah, when the player moves, it sends out a raycast to every map tile within a certain distance of its position. And if it hits it, then it will enable the mesh render of the map tile and any objects on that mesh tile.
So is your question? So is your issue that it doesn't display him?
No. For some reason, when it's firing the raycast, I presume this is the case. I didn't look that far to it. Yeah, you can move to the right. You're just in the action phase at the moment. So this is, do you want to do nothing or do you want to light the torch, Tortoise? Once you've done this action phase, you'll be able to move again. Here we go. We're now in the movement phase. So do you want to not move or do you want to move to the right? Or you can move back to the left, but there's no reason to do that. How did you get Twitch into Unity? I'll get to that in a moment, Tortoise. I'll just answer Will's question so that I don't forget it. What was your question again, Will?
I can't remember it.
Oh yeah, mesh renders. Yeah. So when it's firing the raycast to the map tiles, some of them seem to be getting enabled, others are not, and I don't know why. It seems to be a little bit random at the moment. So I presume it's the raycasts, but I'm not certain.
Well, I can't speak on whether this is to do with your thing or not, but just FYI, the characters in that use a different component than mesh renderers. These skinned mesh renderers.
Okay.
Which may or may not be contributing to your problem.
No, I don't think it is. Because I'm still able to hide and show the monsters as normal when I use the debug player. It's only the player that's using a model that's having the issue.
Right, okay.
To answer your question, what if it ties? I got it to do something when it ties. I don't remember what I got it to do because I wrote that bit a while ago. I think it will select randomly between the ties. Oh, here we go. So all the things that I've set up is I can add cutscenes. So this is like the intro from like a D&D YouTube video that I did a while ago. But yeah, I can set up cutscenes to add between the levels. You're now on level 2. To answer your question earlier, Tortoise, I'm using a socket in C# to connect to Twitch chat. You can get libraries to connect to Twitch's API, which I've done with some of my other tools. This one isn't anything that complex, though. So if you guys want to do now, you've got to do exclamation mark and the number, Tortoise. I haven't got anything as advanced as being able to type out the text yet. So there's a door here. You can't see past the door. Do you want to open the door? Do you want to attack the door? Or do you want to put the torch out? Or do you want to do nothing? While that happens, I'm going to click script. Move this over here. Check it. Okay. Yeah. Here we go, Tortoise. So this is the code for connecting to Twitch. Client, screen reader, and writer. You can ignore the votes manager. What we're basically doing is when we start, we're running connect to Twitch. And to connect to Twitch, we're making a new TCP. We use this URL. This connects it to Twitch chat. And this uses the port number for Twitch chat. We then send the details we need to Twitch chat. So our password, our username, because you've got to be able to log into Twitch chat so that you can read and write messages to it. And then we can just run a function to basically get the messages from Twitch chat. This is a very dirty way of doing it. It does work. There's better ways of doing it, but for like a quick go-to to like set things up, it works for now. Don't move. Like, what did you guys do last time? I wasn't paying attention. Did you attack the door? If you've got any questions, well, feel free to hit me.
Oh, I'm focusing on the game. Okay, so are you determining the actions that we have available to us on the objects or on the tiles?
So, everything's tile-based. So, it's basically a big table. So when the player moves to a new location like it did here, it basically checks the current tile it's on for what items are there. Because some items you have to be on the same tile as to interact with, like the torches. Other tiles you have to be on the tile next to interact with, like the doors, if that makes sense. So every time the player moves, it's getting the tile the player's on and each tile above, below, to the right and left. And so on those 5 tiles, it's seeing what items are there and then pulling in a list of any interaction those items have to generate the options for the players.
Right, okay, I get you.
It randomizes. Okay, there we go. I knew I did something like that, but it was a while ago I wrote it, so I couldn't say for certain. So you can attack the doors. Yeah. So there you go. You've got a monster. Go fight it. Beat it up. This is what Will made.
Yes. Robot Man.
Yeah. Do you recognize the animation at all, Will? Possibly not from this angle. It's a little subtle. It's kind of like a bounce in the knees. It's Omega from Sonic Adventure.
I was thinking that. I was thinking that, but I thought it sounded stupid if I vocalized it.
No, that was what the inspiration was. Like I thought it's quite a cool little simple animation that works quite well.
It fits them. Like it fits Clockwork Robot stuff. Oh, I like the smoke. Smoke's nice.
Yeah, honestly, the smoke. Oh, hang on. Has he got 2 chimney stacks? I might have forgot to put it in the other chimney stack. But yeah, it's just like a nice little extra, isn't it? He doesn't have any other animations at the moment. You guys trying to break it. I can promise you that's not going to break it. At least it shouldn't do. I'm 95% certain. If you guys just stand there, he will come to you and he will start to attack you. I can tell you right now, though, he's weaker than you. You guys will absolutely beat him if you get into a fight with him. You can't see your health or anything at the moment. I'll be setting up like a little sub menu down here, little sub UI. That'll be like showing your stats as the player. I've not done that yet.
Imagine if you could move in some kind of scene-like manner to get an up close on the man.
Oh, you want to see him up close, do you? Oh, wow. Oh, there we go. Yeah, here we go.
I just want to see what you've done with him. That's all.
Yeah. He's literally just your model. I've just added a little bounce up and down animation. You can see there's a little bit of smoke.
Yeah.
I need to
it's a
add
nice
the smoke
animation.
particle to the second one. So there's a bit of a bug with the monster script at the moment. What they're meant to do is they patrol around a certain area that I can define. But if they see the player, they're meant to chase the player. But for some reason, well, he's decided he can't see you anymore. He's gone back to patrol mode. I don't know why he's doing that. I only noticed it last night, and I haven't had time to fix it. So, I'll fix that later on.
Sure.
He might come back to attack mode now that he's like in line with you. You are really trying to break this, aren't you, Tortoise? Go ahead, genuinely, see if you can break it. I'm curious. Maybe he only has a horizontal view. Maybe he shouldn't. But it, like I said, clearly something's wrong. So yeah, it's possible he has only got a horizontal view. I'm gonna try and like push it forward for you guys to go and fight him now.
And I have a potential.
Hey, you have
Maybe.
a potential? What's your potential?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. So okay, do you in your coding, do you use single quotes or double quotes?
Double quotes, and I think I know where you're going here. That might break it.
I don't know if it will, but you never know.
Oh, that one. I
Depends
thought you were gonna do something else. That shouldn't break it.
Depends if you're passing it or not.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's not
what were
being
you thinking I
passed.
was gonna do?
I'm not gonna say on Twitch.
Okay,
Not
fair
on because it might break other stuff later on. So I need to put protections in for that.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
So you guys can see you've just hit him, he hit you, but you hit him a lot harder with a critical. How much health has he got? He's got 1 hit point, and you have 16 hit points. Deck him, guys, deck him. Ooh, Tortoise is really. You guys are really trying to wreck stuff, aren't you?
No, that's pseudo code if I've ever seen it.
Oh boy. So this is most of what's in there at the moment. There's only the one monster. But it's very easy for me to add more in. I've tried to be a good tester. Honestly, it's appreciated. The more it's tested, like, revealing bugs is a good thing. Like, it's frustrating. Developers will get mad about it. But it means that we can fix them. We can't fix bugs if we don't know about them. So it is good to have. Yeah, it's easy to add more monsters in because of how I've set it up. It's using object-oriented programming, which a lot of people might not... That term might not mean a lot to a lot of folks. But it means that I can reuse a lot of the code between things, making it easier for me to add more monsters later on. I can also, like, make more maps and stuff. Like, so the map is all generated from this. All the items, all what monsters are in there, stuff like that. The game basically has a dictionary of map tiles, of monsters, of players, stuff like that. And I throw in a JSON file which says, look, here's the map for each level. Here's the monsters for each level. Read this and build me a level using that. Which is what allows me to, like, adding more campaigns after the game has already been built.
Is that nice for you to use?
What, for me to build the campaign?
Yeah.
Currently, no, because I'm crafting the JSON by hand. But later on, I'll be making a little tool that will let me do it.
That little map editor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the worst thing in the world, like crafting the JSON by hand. It's just a bit fiddly, and not the quickest. But this is still early days for this project. So that's why I've not made like a map editor or anything. It would be pretty easy to do. So I think if you go going to the next level, it might throw an error. I think there are, it should catch the error, but I think there are some problems with the 3rd level of this campaign. It was a rush job that I made last night. I can't break it. Yeah, I didn't think so. I'm not gonna say it's impossible to break, because there probably are still ways you could, but it's not gonna be as easy as you might think.
Yeah.
No, Callum just not found it yet.
Just
that
not
is
found.
scarily accurate from Will there.
Hey, we've been to. Hey, look at what literally just happened at the start of the thing again, where the guys ran into the wall.
Exactly, yeah.
Just because you think it works.
There's something that my first line manager at my first job told me years ago. And while I don't necessarily agree with everything he said, he had a point in this. There is no such thing as a bug-free piece of software.
I'm guessing this was not when you worked in retail then.
No, this was not retail. This was software development. No, this is still software development. And yeah, he is right to a certain degree. Oh, you're attacking the door even though it's open. Okay. It's a tanky door, I'll tell you that now. It's got a lot of health. It's got 43 health. And you don't deal a lot of damage. But you can do it. He's connected his Twitch account to it. It's technically possible to leak his password. Not quite. This isn't connected to my Twitch account. It's logged into Twitch chat. It's also not using my Twitch account. It's using a different Twitch account. What would you have done if I'd actually set up a command for that?
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it.
Yeah. I have bots tortoise that I've coded for this channel. So if I do like, let's say Discord, you'll see Lakea there. Lakea is one of my bots. This is connected using her account, not my personally. But even then, it wouldn't be using her password. It uses what's called a stream token, which is kind of like the password for bots, not for a user account. They're two different things.
It's more of an ID, isn't it, than a password?
Yeah, it's more of like an ID and a password. So, and like I said, this is not the best way of doing it. This is very much a quick and dirty way of doing it. At some point, I will use the Twitch API properly. I just can't be asked to do it right now. This works perfectly fine for dev testing.
Are you checking for contains? Or are you checking for matches?
Or what?
Sorry, for when casting votes.
Right now, it's just doing. What do you mean exactly? As in, like.
So if I put a sentence.
Yeah.
That had exclamation mark for, and then words after it. Is it gonna translate that to a vote because the message contains it, or is it gonna go?
No, it's checking the first character. So it checks if the first character is an exclamation mark. If it isn't, then it ignores it. If it is, it will pass it over to the vote system. Then the vote system will check if the text after the exclamation mark can be converted to a number. If it can't, it ignores it. If it can, it converts it to a number, and then it will take that number and check if it correlates with the list of options. So like now you've got 3 options. If you put exclamation mark 5, for example, yeah, it'll get to a point where it converts it to a number, but then it will ignore it because 5 isn't a option you can go for. So the idea of this project, I think I've said before, is so that I can bring in other streamers. And the idea is that I can make a campaign and then I can make some clues. So I could bring in, like, if I was to bring Will in, for example, I could give Will some clues as to how to complete the campaign. And then on stream, you guys could work with Will to try and complete whatever campaign I put forward. Is the general idea. Like, there's other things that I'll use it for as well. I've got a few plans in the future that I'm not going to reveal yet. But that's the general idea for what it can be used for. So, you know what, Will? That might work, actually. I don't know if I remove spaces or not.
That's actually there is no space there. Fun fact.
Oh, is it a tab? Is it white space?
No, it's using a different hex code to achieve a number 2.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, see,
So,
that's...
still should pass as a number 2, I think.
Yeah.
But there's quite a bit of funniness there.
I've not done anything to check for other hex codes. It's only checking like basic string check. So if you put in stuff that's going to use non-alphanumeric characters, I'm not entirely sure what it'll do. It'll probably ignore it, as it doesn't fit into the like string literals it's checking for. But I couldn't say for certain.
Interesting. I think probably C# is handling a lot of the character funniness, right?
Most likely, yeah. Like I said, it's checking against the string literal, so it's in fact, I don't think it's doing that. It's actually checking for a number, and it's converting, like it's breaking up the string and trying to convert it to a number. If it can't convert it, it just ignores it. So, yeah, C# is likely ignoring a lot of that.
I wonder if you could get the string, loop through to find the first exclamation mark, check the character immediately afterwards and see if it's a number, and then if not, then continue looping through the string, and then do that until you reach the end of it, and then you'd be able to scavenge commands out of messages that have other stuff in it.
Possibly. It's not a bad shout. Honestly, that's a lower priority for me right now. While I try and like complete other parts of it, but certainly for later on. Also, Tortoise has some interesting ideas there, trying to add numbers together. I don't think that'll have an effect, but given that it is trying to convert them to a number, that is an interesting idea. I think it will ignore it because it can't pass the plus sign, but again, I couldn't say for certain. This is one of the reasons why I like making Twitch stuff and then showing it on stream, because people will try and break it with stuff like this, and it always makes for like an interesting test. Seeing what people come out with and seeing what actually happens. It's also just good to see, like, gauge interest and stuff like that, and see if people are actually interested in this stuff.
Okay.
In a minute, I'll stop the game. I'll show you what happens if I try and use the other player model. I'll tell you now, the other player model also doesn't rotate to try and like you know, based on the direction you move. That's because the camera's parented under it, so it kept rotating the camera. I haven't fixed that yet.
That's fair.
Agree 100%. I'd never try and break it. I would try and beat it. At the end of the day, both are great. Genuinely, trying to play the game is great. It means you're having fun. Love it. If you're trying to break it, it sounds daft, but it does actually help me. Because, like I said, it helps uncover bugs. And it helps me see how people are thinking to, like, try and break it. So I can, like, fix any bugs that are uncovered by it. And also put in more stuff to try and, like, help make it more intuitive for the players.
Okay.
Yeah, so the map tiles, this is more for you, Will, are actually all just the same prefab. And then, well, the same 5 prefabs based on, like, if it's a corridor, if it's a corner piece, stuff like that. That worked, did it? Interesting. It's ignoring the white space. Ah. Very interesting. Don't you try and fix the bug of the first... what, the other project we showed earlier? Nah, I'm not going to be fixing those. That's a Game Jam project. We tend not to, like, add to those after the fact. So this is an actual ongoing project that I'll try and fix up. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so it's the same 5 prefabs, but dependent on like the ID of each map piece that you put when you define the mapping adjacent, it will apply a different material to the prefab.
Okay. So right, okay. So the prefabs, the floor. I have a question about the floor.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, unless you're a developer, you probably are not interested in the floor. But so is it the same? Is it part of the same object?
The floor.
Yes. To the
Um,
walls.
Hang on. So each one is its own game object. So it's not the best for efficiency right now, but early like project, it's not going to be great for efficiency. So like the floor is part of the wall for that tile, if that makes sense. If I select this corner piece, you can see the floor is part of the wall. But then here, in the center of the room, it's just the floor tile because there's no wall around it, if you see what I mean.
Okay.
So if I'll put on the game view so people can try and get to the end, like they've been trying to for ages, and then go to the prefabs folder.
Here's a suggestion. If the floor, if the prefab for the walls were comprised of 2 objects, the walls and the floor, right? Then you could set the rotation on the floor tile to be random at 90-degree intervals and break up the text like that.
Yes. I can still do that, to be fair. That's a good point. Can you send me that in a DM on Discord so I can remember that for later on? Because that would be good. I do need to find more ways of like adding variance to the materials and that. It's one of those things of it's a lower priority for now as I'm just trying to get more functionality into the game, get more items into the game. But it's absolutely something I want to do later on.
Yep, hang on. Let me send this to you.
I'm surprised you're actually finding things that work for this tortoise. I didn't think you would, so I'm genuinely kind of impressed. Nice job, dude. Well, once you've done that, I do kind of have a question for you, though. Because you'll be more familiar with this than I. It's to do with the animator and blending.
Right.
So right now, your dude you've given me, he only has the one idle animation. At the start of the game, he goes into it, and he sits in there the whole time. I want to set up attack animations and stuff like that, death animations. I know I can trigger those from script. Like, you've shown me how to do it before. I've done it before, stuff like that. But I'm not overly sure how to set up the blends for it.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, if you've got any advice on that. I know we use it in the animator, so you can see I've got Steampunk Fighter Idol state here.
Okay, so here is my number 1 tip for any animating anything ever in the history of anything ever, right? That animation that you've got there, make it a blend tree.
Blend.
A blend tree. Now, so in the animator, you can just, I think actually you can just right click it and just set it to a blend tree. I'm not
Okay,
100%
I'm going to stop this. I'll put it back on a bit, guys, if you guys will give it another go. But I'm kind of curious about this. So prefabs, monsters.
So drag them into the scene or something.
Yep, so we're in the prefab view of our little steampunk dude.
Okay, so head into the animator.
Yep.
Of him. And then on the actual thing, the animation there itself, the state.
Yeah.
If you right click that, does it have a convert to blend tree option? If you
create new blend tree in state.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm watching it on blooming Twitch. No wonder it's lagging behind.
I'm share screening with you in Discord, dude.
You're saying yes and then taking a while to like process this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if you double click on that now, on the Steam.
Hang on, mouthful of water.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Ah.
Now, so click on this blend tree, and then in the top right of like the inspector, that blend type, set
Yep.
it to simple directional. Is it? Yes, I think so. And then if you give it to, do you know how to assign parameters? Do you know how to give parameters? Or make
They're
parameters?
over here, aren't they?
Yeah, so make two called like X and Y.
Okay, just
Or X and Z probably
pools.
is easier. Floats. Sorry, floats.
Plus. Okay.
Yeah.
X and Y.
Yeah. Or X and Z, it's up to you. Whichever you personally find easier.
We'll just go X and Y. I can always rename
Okay.
them later on for my own convenience.
So if you go on the parameters bit, and in the right on the it's confusing because like 3 different things on the
like 4 bits labeled parameters. It's like, thanks, Unity.
so those 2 parameters there, if you set them as X and Y, and then you start adding some motions, still in the inspector. Yeah, new motion field. Yeah. And if you add 5 of those, so you got 1. Yep, keep going. Oh yeah, don't you worry. Now, that top one, if you set the motion as your idle animation, yep, and then so essentially, right now, what this is, if you imagine you like a joystick, right?
Yeah.
Like a visual representation of a joystick. That little graph in the inspector is kind of like that. The middle is your like 0 point, right? And then you can use those X and Y position coordinates to plot other animations around that like circle, the outer circle, if you like. So, for instance, that second one from the top, you might set a position of Y to 1, right, and leave the other ones as blank. And then you can, and then that will plot it on the graph. Yes, and the it's hard for me without drawing. Yeah, that.
It's a shame that I haven't actually made any other animations for this dude yet, or we could actually like plug them in.
Yeah, I know. This is always the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you went through the rest of these and you did a similar sort of thing, right? So then you set the Y position on the next. So you set them to all 4 like versions of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've got like
so
1 at
0
0,
and
1, 1 at 0, 0, 1 at, you get the idea.
0, 0, and 1, 0, and then 1 and 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you would need a.
No worries. Thanks for joining, Tortoise, and thank you so much for the follow. Take care of yourself, dude. We'll see you next time.
So if you look on that graph, you're essentially plotting points on that graph.
Right? Yeah.
So you want 1 at the top, the right, the left, and the bottom.
I see. So it'd be more -1.
Yeah, there you go.
-1, 1, -1, and then.
Oh, almost. You want it in like a plus rather than an X.
X. Oh, I see. So it'd be
0, 1.
0, 1. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, now you're getting it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and no, that's right. Okay.
So I was like,
just
rotating it in my mind.
Yeah,
it was like, rotate all by 45 degrees.
So now, if you were to put a rigid body on your object, you can get the speed that it's moving at, right?
I think it's got.
Possibly.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't got.
So essentially, all you want to track that speed for is this animator.
Okay.
And you can so that speed will track it regardless of like whatever is moving it, right? So if you're lerping it in code, it'll still count that as movement, so it'll still translate it to speed, right?
Okay, just to check on the rigid body, disable gravity because we're not using that, and check is kinematic, right?
Yes, I would do that. I think. Yeah, you can still. I'm pretty sure you can still get it with kinematic on. If not, you just lock all the constraints. But
Okay, what exactly is kinematic?
Kinematic is basically telling a rigid body we don't care about physics, which might
Awesome.
seem redundant, but it's just it has to be. It
No,
has to be.
I totally get it because I'm not using physics here. I don't want like everything is locked to a position. I'm not even using a nav mesh here. It's basically the map tiles are laid out in a grid, and then it moves items based on the map tile they're on, if that makes sense. There's no nav mesh or anything else like that. Because why would they need to be on a tile-based game?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if so basically you would be able to assign. So it's the way that I'm doing the robots in Breakout, basically, right? For the movement at least. So you can then assign like a forward, a backward, a left, and a right animation. And as long as you're keeping the X and the Y variables up to date with what the current speed of the object is, it will smoothly blend between them.
Okay.
And it's really neat. And then if you, so at the top of this, like graph editor node bit, the node editor kind of thing, at the top of it, there's a bit that says base layer and like an arrow and then steampunk fire of the actual like node editor itself.
Ah, right, yeah.
Yeah, so if you if you click on base layer, it like takes you, it's like a hierarchy, it takes you back up.
Yeah.
So all of that blend tree stuff is all just in that one node.
Okay.
So if you made a new animation now that was like, I don't know, punch or whatever, you could just set up, you could just right click and then draw an arrow between the punch animation and the idle animations, the blend tree ones. And then just assign it so that like on a trigger it plays the animation, and then have it say it goes back to the add one at the end of it, and it'll essentially just those small changes there will just handle the entire thing for you. It's real powerful.
So if we were to make a quick punch animation, not anything major, literally just like the arm comes up, extends, just so we have something to work with. That was not how I wanted that to rotate.
Hang on, you'll be on center rather than pivot, wherever it is in modern Unity.
Is there a way to change that?
Oh, it's top left. Yeah, top left. So you see where the scene view is.
Ah,
yeah,
here we go.
Pivot. Yeah, there you go. Because
I
was gonna say I set all this up to.
I thought you set it up. It up. I was thinking that doesn't seem right. So literally that, and then after half a second. Wait, no, hang on. For the start, we want it there. So there. That now raises there. That one. Maybe not that much.
Are you after a slash or a stab?
I was thinking a stab.
I would pull the top of the arm back rather than forward.
That's probably.
So like quite a bit back.
Yeah.
There you go. And then the next frame I would do.
To bring it forward and straight.
Yeah. I think you can just do it forward and straight. To be honest, as long as it's like a relatively quick keyframe wise. Yeah, there you go. And then straighten out the bottom part. Yeah, there you go. And now bring those keyframes forward a little bit. Yeah, so scooch those ones forward a little bit. Yeah, that'll do. And then those first keyframes that you've got there, just copy them.
Copy and paste them.
And then paste them at the end. Yeah.
So now if we were to play that, boom. Stabby. It's a small, simple animation, but like that's all we need for now.
Yeah. If you wanted, you could have like a little, like torso rotation, something a bit more on the legs. But I mean, at the end of the day, for what you're after, that does the job, right?
Yeah, like I can add more to that later on. I was just thinking quick little animation, then we can try and plug it into our little blend tree, just so that we've got like something to try and blend it with. If that makes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our punch. I will go in here then, don't I? I want to add the punch to here.
No, not to the blend tree.
Is it adding it?
Well, you've already, so it's automatically added it. So you see that
Yeah.
one on the right, that states that has your animation in it, right?
Yeah.
So if you add a new parameter, that's a trigger.
Trigger.
And then just call it punch or stab, I guess, whatever you're gonna call it.
Stabby stab.
There you go. And then you right click on your orange bit there, make transition.
Make transition.
And just click on the other one. And then click on the little arrow, the little transition that you just made.
Oh, is it here?
Yeah, there you go. And then in the conditions bit below, yeah, there you go. And then set that to be the trigger. Yeah, there you go. And then in the settings, you probably want to do just pop up in the settings a second. There's a little drop down. Yeah, there you go. So take out the transition duration. Yeah, take that out. Take out the exit time. Yeah, there you go. And then that's the rest is fine, I think. And then you essentially want to do the same the other way around. So you right click the steampunk fire punch, make transition, boop, and then you can just leave the default stuff on that, I think, and it'll blend between it.
So, like, when we trigger it here, it'll move from idle to fight punch, run once, and then come back to idle?
Yep. That it should do. So here's a fun thing for you to try. When you're in play mode, you can go in the animator and you can manually fire off triggers by clicking them in the thing. So if you pop the animator out as a separate window.
Okay, let's take a look. And then I run this as run it into this. Go all, and then if we come into this scene view, now see this little dude. He's kind of facing the wall.
That's fine. He's got a bit of light source on him there. So now, if you select him just so that it tells the animator which one you're doing, yeah, there you go.
So if we do that, hey,
cheeky little
stabby. I am going to have to rename that, guys. As much as I would love to keep it as stabby, in order for it to work well with the other monsters and that later on, it's gonna have to be more generic. But stabby it is for now. Yeah, I'll have to be something more generic, like attack 1 or attack 2. Because it's the same script for a lot of them. The way the script's working is, if I come here, we've got a character base which all characters inherit from the player and the monsters. And then we've got this monster script which does most of the work for the monsters and is what the monsters can use by itself if they want, but then they can extend from it. Okay, that's not there at the lights. So yeah, steampunk fighter. It is mainly just using the monster script. The only difference is when it's being set visible, it's got the particles to enable and disable, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah. Yeah, I get you.
Hey, stabby.
So I guess you'd want to make that loop through an array if you're going to have 2 on his back.
Yes. Honestly, I forgot there was the second smokestack there. We might as well actually sort that out now, actually. Otherwise, I'll forget. Know what I'm on.
To be fair, if you make it an array, then you could put particles on him when he gets more damaged, and you could enable.
That is very true. I hadn't thought about that. And we could use particles for any monster, not just a construct.
Yeah, reusable.
This particle. If visible. For each particle. Smoke particle. If I very nearly ignored the brackets there. You can tell I've been using Python. Like, I can see you guys just like ganging up on me with the collar and the mustache. You little shits.
Progressively more and more.
Yeah. Give me a sec. Pop. Okay. Do you think there'd be anything else there?
Seems fair. I think this seems fun.
Okay. Okay, so that's doing that, but then we just need to adjust it on the prefab, because at the moment the prefab was set up with it being one reference, not like a list of them. Oh, nice try there. Who threw the dagger? Cranberry, you little shit. I've not added the extra smoke particle, have I? I was really proud of this smoke particle. I know it's only basic, but I normally suck with particle effects. For chat's benefit, Will is like an absolute whiz with particles. I usually suck with them.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny.
Yes, you can. Go on. Why don't you tell people what you've made of my particle systems before now?
I would say coma-inducing. To be generous. Right. The thing is, I'm a big proponent of you can use the particle system to achieve literally anything in anything. Just in general, there's not much that you can't do with the particle system, whether you're supposed to or not. I use it for basically, outside of like a real small couple of examples, I use it for basically all projectile anything, be it weapons, be it. Sometimes you can use it for visibility checks. It's a whole thing. Particles are the one-stop shop for doing anything in Unity. Whether it's intended to be like that, I don't know. But I mean, I think they're excellent. And then they've replaced them in the newer versions. Which is why
no, are you serious?
They replaced them with dots. Although they tried to replace them with dots, which is like it's like entity based. It runs on the GPU, which is fine, but you can't obviously do any collision calculations because it's on the GPU, not CPU. Which I think, boo.
Well, I do get why they've done it, but I wish they hadn't replaced them and more added the dots in as an alternative there. Because I understand why they're doing it. Like, parallel processing is becoming a big thing nowadays, but it's still like, as you've just said, while I don't use them for as much as Will does, they are really useful. I'm not best at making them look good, but they are very powerful. Like, the replacing them as they have is, well, a bit shit.
Well, they lightly replaced them. I think they brought it out and they stopped adding fixes and stuff to the old one, so they didn't officially do it. But then it's kind of like the writing's on the wall, you know. It's on its way out. They are bringing it forward into the new pipelines, and yeah, you know the deal.
It's becoming depreciated.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Lightly depreciated.
Okay, so
but I will continue to use it.
If we run this now, I reckon it's only a matter of time before we've had enough and we move over to go.
I don't know what it is. I can't. The structure's too different from Unity. I think they bill it as like a Unity alternative, but it's really not. It's fine. It's not a bad engine. I just think it is maybe a touch needlessly complicated.
I think it just needs time. It's not like it's worth remembering that Godot is a much younger engine than Unity is. It's not been around for anywhere near as long as Unity or Unreal or anything like that. Godot is effectively the new kid on the block as far as game engines go. So it needs a lot more time to mature. It's the main issue.
I think the thing is with the Unity is that over time, the things that have changed are the features, but the base layout is the same. It's object oriented, and you have game objects and you have components, and the way that they interact has always been the same since 2007. For better or worse, you know. But I think that as a system is simple enough that it works really well and it's really intuitive. And I think when they did Godot, they were trying to make like the new version of that, whatever that would look like, and I don't think it's necessarily been successful. But you know what? I think because there's no there's no objects, which I think is they've gone too far. No, everything's components.
So
and I think it gets real messy real quick.
Okay, that's interesting.
Have you used it?
I've not. I kept meaning to use it, but I've not got around to try it yet. I've got that many various projects on.
Yeah, I think the concept is great, and I think over time it will develop a cult following and it'll do really well. But I think at a base level, at like the foundational level, I think it needs some revisions that I don't think it'll get because it's already cracking on and has money behind it. And I think that is probably why I would not make the switch to it. That's it. It's a great little engine. I've made a couple of bits and bobs in it. Made a cheeky little multiplayer arena. Yes, it's alright, but it's just kind of it struggles, I think.
The main reason I've not swapped even after all the debacle was simply because I don't have time to learn a new engine, and I don't typically make games for release. Like outside the Game Jam games, which Unity don't really get any benefit from, I don't release most of my projects. Most of my projects like this are more to support my content creation. So like the animations for the D&D video, this to like add more interactive streams, the stream scenes that I made for myself and Liminal and that. So you like the hassle of changing to a new engine ended up being more than what it was worth for me personally. But even so, the changes that are happening to Unity are slowly starting to annoy me more and more in some cases. So we'll see where we end up in time. Honestly, Bladed, Will made this, and it's a solid little model. Great job. I did the small particles. I can claim that.
Yeah, there you go. I think he's neat. He's neat. He's
a solid
he did the animations as well. That's good for that.
The only thing I did change from your model, and we'll probably wrap up after this, guys, as a heads up, was I had to, you had every the chess piece as the parent object, everything underneath it. I did had to move it all down one layer to be able to like get it to be compatible with some of my scripts and that, but that was pretty much the only change I made.
That's the assumption. Generally the model of something is not the top layer anyway.
Yeah,
like, an object
all I did was create an empty object, called it chest, and added the mesh filters for the chest. Yeah. Bar that, he's actually been really easy to work with. Like,
he's not bad. I do quite like him. I'd maybe be tempted to use him in something. I don't know what.
I mean, if you want to, like, yeah, he's your model at the end of the day. I know you made him for like at my request for this, but at the end of the day, we share assets all the time. I think that's the other thing that's worth noting from our Game Jam stuff. Like, less so much Plus because he doesn't get as much time, but I know both me and Will have taken a lot of assets from our Game Jam games over the years, because like our general like point of view, correct me if I say something that's changed, Will, but is so long as we credit the other, we're not generally too fussed. we've all worked on those projects. We've all like contributed to the assets. We're all happy for each other to use them.
Yeah, I don't mind. I have a bad habit of just starting fresh every project and making things from scratch. But it's more it's more because the practice just keeps me good at the tools. But I mean, if if stuff wanted to be reused, depending on what the item was, I suppose. But
yeah, there have been like 1 or 2 items where one of us has said, actually, I kind of want to keep this for myself, and that's absolutely fine.
fair.
Like if they've made it, yeah. But for the most part, we typically share the assets. Because even when working solo, we're a bit of a team in supporting geek, I think, in various things. Will definitely has the most experience with Unity, work his way around it, but we've all got various skills, which, as we've said before, part of the reason why we work well in the game jams, because we complement each quite well. As Will kind of alluded to earlier, we do sometimes have a different in creative vision, but
yeah. hey, you find me some people on this planet who don't.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's never gonna happen, especially at a game jam where most of the time we don't sleep for the first night. I know we were saying earlier that you should. We know we can get away with not sleep on the first night and still be productive, but you've still got to be careful, because that does mean you can start to grate on each other more easily because you get tired, and we have made that mistake before.
I don't know if this is something that we should get into.
We've already told the story on stream, but we don't need to go into it again. Yeah, so it's just worth bearing that in mind. Any other questions in chat then? If you've got any final questions, hit us up, but we'll probably end the stream in a moment, because honestly, both me and Will are knackered. We've both had long days, so stream is a little bit shorter today. I do apologise, but we both need a rest.
Yeah, I'm going to roll into bed.
That is very fair. Big fan of the robot, hell yeah, it's an effort. Yeah, it is. Your first feud on game jams? Not really, I'm just known as the tea guy at this point. Everyone was like, yeah, you brought the big box of tea this time again, haven't you? Apparently some of the freshers didn't believe that I would rock up with a box of tea. So they were kind of surprised, but I did indeed.
True, he does.
Yeah, literally do. I found the name of the game. Oh, yes. I remember that one. Cool, that's going back a bit. That was the old platformer puzzle game, wasn't it? We played as like 3D cuboid. That was fun. Oh, but anyway, we'll probably look at wrapping up there, guys. If you've got any questions about game jams or anything, or game development, anything like that, hit us up in the Discord. I'm always happy to try and answer questions. I'm not gonna drop Will in it, but Will is fairly knowledgeable usually.
I'm open to it. If people have questions.
Yeah, just tag us a message in the Discord and we'll try and answer where we can. And like I said, we'll most likely do something similar to this again sometime in February after Global. Let's see. Very inspirational stream. Someone works it. Yes, have you seen some of the animation stuff that Max has done in the Discord, Will?
I have not. I don't get an awful lot of time to frequent the Discord nowadays.
That's completely fair. If you get a chance, if you look in the creative channel, he's posted some really good stuff, like really solid animations.
Oh, cool.
Love being here again. Thanks for joining, Het. Materies server's become a small hub for creative beings. Absolutely, I'm over the moon with it. I love the fact that the server's become a place where multiple people can share what they create. I've said to a lot of people they can just stick stuff in there because it's genuinely amazing to see. Like I've said to you, haven't I? Well, if you all share breakout stuff, but I think you've decided to keep it until it's ready.
Yeah, just until it gets a little more on the way. When there's a date for it, I think I'll start putting stuff in there. When's that a thing that I have to hold to?
Yeah, that's fair. Even your cooking stuff, Het, like anything creative, whether it's cooking, game dev, animations, it's all amazing to see. I love seeing all of it. So anyway, I am going to wrap it up there because Paul Will is probably sat there thinking, when's he going to shut up?
I'm on the desk, man. I'm level with you. It's been a long day.
Honestly, so relatable. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. If you all join our Discord, then here is a link. Please do drop in. It really is just a kit where people can have a chat, play games, share stuff they're working on. So feel free to come say hi to the rest of the Rangers. I will be back tomorrow with some Mass Effect, and we'll be continuing Baldur's Gate on Wednesday and Minecraft on Saturday. So quite a few streams this week. In the meantime, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.